Dear students, welcome to the course Science of Consciousness in Ancient India, and this is lecture 14. So, in this lecture we are going to begin the second system, that is Sankhya Yoga. I have clubbed together, so first we will understand Sankhya, then we will move to the Yoga. As you can see, we have the same pattern of understanding of each of the system, that is the triangular understanding. Three constituents of darshan: Prameya, Pramad and Pramata. So, here you can see we have 24 plus 1 objects of cognition, that is Prameya Padarth, and Pramad we accept only 3: Anuman, Pratyaksha and Shabda. So, what is missing? What is missing? There is one Pramad which is not accepted by Sankhya system, which was accepted by Nyaya Vaisheshik. Which is the missing one? What's the missing one? We have 4 means of cognition as per Nyaya Vaisheshik: Pratyaksha, Anuman, then Upaman, then Shabda. So, here what is missing? Upaman, resemblance or comparison is missing. So, we will see how they have incorporated Upaman and where they have incorporated. So, first of all you can see who is the founder scholar of this system? Kapil. Kapil is known as the founder scholar of Sankhya Darshan, and he has categorized 25 constituents of creation, among which 2 are most dominant, or you can say they are the most important one. First is Prakriti and second is Purusha. You can see Prakriti and Purush. The term Prakriti, this one, the way of writing in Devanagari, it would be like Prakriti, then Purusha. And what is Prakriti? Prakriti means the primordial material. What is Purush? Purush is consciousness. It is not male, female. Clear? That is why the words in Sanskrit, they have very peculiar meaning. When we translate them in another language, we need to have a better understanding about the words. So, here you can see there are 25 elements as the object of cognition, and this system addresses 3 fundamental constituents or elements of creation: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, fundamental constituents. So, you can see there is a better understanding about how the creation or manifestation begins, and for that they have accepted 3 basic constituents which are not counted in the list of 25. So, these are fundamental. Fundamental means from here onwards you will see whatever systems we are going to study, they would accept these Sattva, Rajas and Tamas everywhere, but they are so much fundamental to our existence that they are not counted in any of the system as a means of or as a object of cognition or as a Prameya Padarth. क्यों? क्योंकि ये cognize किए ही नहीं जा सकते. They are present, but they are known to us just because of their functionality. So, this is the basic understanding about the fundamental principal elements or fundamental elements. Suppose in the examinations you are being asked, write down the fundamental elements or constituents of creation, then you have to write, the correct answer would be Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And what they are, we are going to discuss. क्या है वो, उनका क्या impact है, हमें कैसे पता चलते हैं कि वो है existence में. But they are not counted as object of cognition or Prameya Padarth in any of the systems, because they are beyond the range of perception, but their functionality depicts their presence, depicts, or you can say proves their presence. So, now these elements produce effect at 2 levels. These elements means Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. They produce the effect at 2 levels. One is the mental level, second is the physical level. And the detailed ontology has been described in the metaphysical subhead. So, I would explain what their function is and how they impact us physically and mentally, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, in the next slide. Second part, which is the epistemology, or you can say Pramada Mimamsa, that is Sankhya system has 3 main Pramadas, that is direct perception, inference and verbal testimony: Pratyaksha, Anuman and Shabda. Sankhya system do not accept comparison as a separate means of cognition. You can see the difference. in Nyaya Vaisheshik we have upaman or shabd or upaman, or you can say resemblance as a separate means of cognition. But here we do not have upaman as a separate means of cognition. They consider it as a part of inference itself. So it is incorporated within anuman, inference. उपमान को अलग से नहीं काउंट कर रहे हैं, उसको अनुमान का ही पार्ट मानते हैं. बिकॉज इन कंपैरिजन व्हाट वी डू नॉर्मली, like this is the child of the cow, means this is a calf just because it is having resemblance with the cow. So in another way you are inferring only. This is a kind of inference only. This is a kind of inference. Sometimes you can be mistaken. कई बार ऐसा होगा कि दो एंटाइटी इतनी सिमिलर होगी कि आपको लगेगा ये तो दोनों एक ही हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल ट्विंस, सी द ट्विंस, दे आर सो सिमिलर that you can say like they both are single entity. एक ही व्यक्ति है. आप अलग अलग किसी को मिलेंगे तो आपको लगेगा एक ही से मिले हैं. But when you see them together you will find they are the twins, there are two entities. So even if you are comparing some two things on the basis of similarity, then also you are just inferring only. So they incorporate upaman praman under the category of anuman itself. This is the understanding of Sankhya scholars. Now one by one we are going to understand the Sankhya metaphysics, in which I will explain what the scholars of the Sankhya have put in front of us or to us. First of all, you can see the first element that is understood by them in 24 plus 1 category is Prakriti. So whatever was perceived by Nyaya Vaisheshik scholars as Dravya, Gud, Karma, Samanya, Vishesh, Samavay, Abhav, as substance in existence or Padarth, they all are categorized or they all are nominated with a single word, that is Prakriti, by the Sankhya scholars. They said आप जिसको classify कर रहे हैं उस सब के लिए सिर्फ एक शब्द है, primordial material. For example, you are going to create a kind of structure of a pot. So you are using a raw material that is clay, and from the raw material you can design any size, any shape of the pot. So on the basis of the raw material you can create different forms, and that raw material is Prakriti, primordial material. From the primordial material they mentioned that Buddhi or Mahat comes into existence. What is Buddhi and what is Mahat? Why it is named as Mahat? So the word Mahat means grand, and Buddhi, you can write the definition, Nishchayatmika Buddhi means decision making entity. Nishchayatmika Buddhi. So the entity which is responsible for decision making is known as Buddhi. The moment we are designed, you just assume yourself, your body is a kind of primordial material, but once you are feeling that you are alive, so how you start addressing yourself as a living entity? Just because of the presence of your Buddhi. If there would be no decision making entity, that is Buddhi, you won't be able to declare that I exist. This is the fundamental sentence. When you express that you are in existence, you say I exist, and that is done just because of the presence of your Buddhi. बुद्धि नहीं होगी तो आप कभी अपने ही अस्तित्व को बता नहीं सकते किसी को. The moment you are having that primordial material, immediately the next evolute which comes out of Prakriti Tattva is Buddhi, and it is very grand. Remember, that's why I am saying slowly we will be moving towards that stage when we have to rectify or we have to sophisticate our memory in order to serve as a valid means of cognition. क्योंकि बुद्धि बहुत विशाल है. अभी क्या लगता है, इंडिविजुअली यू ऑल आर हैविंग लिमिटेड बुद्धि. आप सबको ये लगेगा कि हम सर्वज्ञ नहीं हैं, वी डोंट नो एवरीथिंग, वी आर नॉट ओमनीशिएंट, ओमनी प्रेजेंट, ओमनी पोटेंट. दिस इज नॉट द फीलिंग राइट नाउ. यू डोंट एक्सपीरियंस लाइक दैट. You understand like I know limited things, so I am having a limited decision making capacity, that is Buddhi. But actually once the creation is evolving, the whole of the creation is evolving from the same primordial material, there is a grand Buddhi. That means grandest possible level of existence which can be recognized or reflected back, or as declared by decision making that I exist. So the consciousness exists. This declaration is coming just because of the presence of buddhi or functionality of the buddhi. The next stage, once your buddhi starts functioning, immediately you start declaring I-ness. You start linking yourself with everything. I exist. So this I-ness, this dominant I-ness is ahankar. Dominant I-ness. When you start declaring or relating yourself with each and every entity that is coming into existence is ahankar. So the primordial material, from the primordial material your buddhi is coming out, and because of the function of the buddhi you immediately link yourself to the cognition of each and every external object. So that is ahankar. From the ahankar you have three basic fundamental constituents which are not counted as the prameya padarth, but they are present because of their functionality. First is sattva, second is rajas, and third is tamas. What is sattva? You can write sattva, you can I will explain the function of sattva, rajas and tamas at two levels. First is the physical level, second is the mental level, and discuss in detail in the next slide. From the sattva there are in total 5 plus 5 plus 1. This means total 11 substances which are entities which are coming as a evolute. So first is panch gyanendriya, second is panch karmendriya, this is 1, this is 2, and manas is the third. So panch gyanendriya means 5 senses, panch karmendriya means 5 actions, manas is bimodal in nature. A sense or it is having the property of senses also and having the property of actions also. It is gyanendriya also, it is karmendriya also. So it is known as ubhaya endriya. This is bimodal. And last, tamas dominant evolute which is coming out is panch tanmatra. Again these are 5. From the 5 tanmatras we have 5 bhutas, that is akash, vayu, agni, jal and prithvi. So from this 5 again the 5. And here rajas, what is the role of the rajas? Inert nahi hai rajas. Rajas is responsible for activity. So it helps sattva also to create the next stage of evolutes, that is manas, 5 senses and 5 actions. In the same way rajas activates tamas also to function or to generate panch tanmatras, and from panch tanmatras we have panch bhutas. This is the whole of the metaphysics of the Sankhya system. And now one by one you can see we have to understand the actual meaning. First is this one, ye kahan se aaya? Singly residing, what is that? So after this is understanding of Sankhya system, Sankhya scholars understood that if you take the example of a pot, from a raw clay pot is being created. ठीक है, आपने बना दिया, बहुत अच्छा चाय का कुल्हड़ बनाया है या फिर आपने एक बहुत अच्छा पॉट बनाया है, बट हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट इट इज़ लिविंग? सो कंसिडर योर ओन एज अ पॉट. आपका अपना ग्रॉस बॉडी एक पॉट है, कुम्हार ने उसको बना दिया है एक पर्टिकुलर शेप, साइज, स्ट्रक्चर, डायमेंशन के साथ. ठीक है, स्टिल व्हेन देयर वुड बी अ कंडीशन व्हेन यू कैन डिक्लेयर दैट यू आर हैविंग लाइफ. उस पॉट में लाइफ है या नहीं ये कैसे आइडेंटिफाई होगा, और अगर लाइफ आ जाएगी तो आपको पता कैसे चलेगा? सो योर ग्रॉस बॉडी इज नॉट functional, that means this is non-living. As per our understanding यही बात समझ में आती है ना, this table is non-living because we do not see any functionality in it. So and we see ourselves as a living entity because we have the power to function. So the life form, the actual energy which is responsible for creating the life forms, that is Purush, consciousness. That is Purush. So in Sanskrit, Purush does not mean here Purush, it's a technical term. Purush is not equivalent to the male or female. Purush is having a derivational definition, Puri Sharire Vasati Anen iti Purushah. which means that the one who resides within the body is consciousness, and so Purush is conscious, inactive and attributeless. This is the understanding of Sankhya scholars. They classified, they brought that the responsible entity which is known as Purush is the actual thing, actual doer, because of which in the primordial material whatever is going into the manifestation becomes alive, and that Purush is being understood by the Nyaya Vaisheshik system in the name of Atma. That is why I told you, don't translate Atma as soul or spirit. ना तो वो आत्मा है, ना वो स्पिरिट है, ना कोई सुपरनेचुरल पावर है, इट्स एनर्जी. So the Nyaya Vaisheshik scholar categorized this consciousness, this understanding under the head of Dravya. Dravya are 9. Kal, Dik, Atma, Manas, 4x plus Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi. So among those Dravya, they put Atma. That means the life energy which is responsible for the life forms. That is Atma. Here you are using the word Purush to identify the same life form, or it's the same energy which is responsible for generating the life forms. Puri Sharire Vasati Aneni Iti Purusha. So what is the derivational definition? Puri means a city, Sharire means body, Vasati means resides. So the one who resides in the city of the body. It's a metaphorical. In Sanskrit, all the texts are written in a metaphorical way of understanding or metaphorical style of writing. So your body is a kind of city, and the one who resides in that city is known as Purush. This is the understanding, explanation. Now in contrast, Prakriti is unmanifested primordial matter, the evolvent of all, and that is manifested and evolved. So Prakriti is considered to be a matter in very simple sense. For example, we today have an understanding about the E is equals to mc square, and we say like mass is there, something like matter, primordial matter. E is like something like that is energy, but there also we do not consider E as an intelligible energy. So वहाँ भी अभी missing है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें missing है. Here what they are saying, consciousness is the actual entity responsible for generating so many diverse life forms, and rest of the things are the evolutes of the primordial material. They become functional just because of the presence of Purush, consciousness. The first evolute of Prakriti is Buddhi, and the evolute of the Buddhi is Ahankar. The moment your Buddhi starts functioning, you would associate yourself with everything. This is mine, this is me, I-ness dominates, I know this thing, I see this thing, I like this thing. Immediately your Ahankar would be linked to the cognitive process, to the objects. In the cognitive process, your Ahankar would be linking your I-ness with the external objects. The 5 senses, 5 actions and manas, they are produced from the Ahankar where Sattva is dominating. So see, Sattva dominate करेगा तो आपके पास कितने entity आएंगे? Total 11. Tamas dominate करेगा, so in total, first of all, at the first stage there would be 5 tanmatras, and in the second stage there would be 5 bhutas. So total 10. So 11 then 10 कितने हो गए? कितने हो गए? 11 plus 10, 21. Then Ahankar 22, Mahat 23, Prakriti 24. ये पूरा चार्ट जो आपको बता रहा है, ये कितने बता रहा है? 24. Then plus 1 क्या है? Purush. Clear? That's why in the triangle of cognition darshan I told you that Sankhya understanding, Sankhya Yoga say like 24 plus 1. 24 are just the representation of the primordial material, and all become functional, all become lively just because of the presence of Purusha, that is plus 1. Now one by one you need to understand how Sattva, Rajas and Tamas function and what is Tanmatra, kya hai Tanmatra. First of all, there is a concept of subtle body. Subtle body is what? When I told you the example, suppose somebody enters in your room and tries not to disturb you, but you are sleeping. and the person starts doing one's own work. But in the dream, in the lucid state of your dream, your consciousness is already diversified in the room. So you are just seeing in the dream that somebody has entered in the room and doing this thing. Once you are coming back to the vacant state, you say to your friend like, oh, you were present in the room, I was dreaming of someone who is doing something in my room. Because your consciousness is already present in that particular space in the room and knowing everything which is happening, but in the lucid state. And sometimes your memory is so sharp that it can record. बहुत छोटे समय के लिए आपने वो चीज़ें फील की, so आप उससे बाहर आते ही आपको याद आएगा कि अच्छा मैंने सपने में यही देखा था. Sometimes your memory is not so sophisticated to record the events what you perceive in the dream. That is the range of the memory. वो कैपेबिलिटी है जिसे जैसे हम लगातार अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स की रेंज बढ़ा रहे हैं, ठीक वही चीज़ आपके साथ रोज होती है. So for that understanding, there is a concept of subtle body. Even if you are sleeping, you are going to transit into the dream state, then from dream to deep sleep state. Then also there is something which is intact and which is still functional. Though your body is lying down on the bed, gross structure is lying on the bed, but beyond that gross structure there is a subtle body. And the subtle body, as per the Sankhya system, is having following characteristics. In Sanskrit, it is denoted as पूर्वोत्पन्नम अशक्तम नियतम महद आदि सूक्ष्म पर्यंतम संसरति निरुपभोगम भावई अधिवासितम लिंगम. Ling शब्द, this is very important. Now right now we understand this word with respect of sex gender identification, ling, but in Sanskrit the word means symptom. First of all, lakshan, ling. Second, Linga Paramarsha from in the Nyaya Vaisheshik system, I left out that portion where the inference can be proved as fallacious because of a false or a faulty hetu, hetva bhas. In that case, ling means character or symptom. And Linga Paramarsha means because on the basis of character or symptom, you identify some event. For example, if you are having fever, that is a symptom, and when you go to a doctor, what he does? Symptomatic treatment. Fever का immediate cause क्या होगा? There would be a kind of fight inside the body, so that because of which the temperature is rising. ये immediate symptomatic treatment है. As per the symptom, you are being given some kind of medicine so that your temperature, your body temperature can come down. यही आप करते हैं, यही किया जा रहा है. ये है अनुमान, इन्फरेंस. एंड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इन्फरेंस ओनली चिकित्सा में बहुत सारे काम केवल इन्फरेंस पे चलते हैं, क्योंकि पता है कि अगर फीवर आया है तो उसका कॉज ये होगा, और एज पर द कॉज व्हाट विल बी द पॉसिबल कंक्लूजन, एंड एज पर द कंक्लूजन यू प्रोवाइड अ मेडिसिन. दिस इज लिंग परामर्श इन आयुर्वेद. लक्षण के हिसाब से किसी चीज़ की ट्रीटमेंट. तो लक्षण आइडेंटिफाई करना लिंग परामर्श है. And in philosophy, in darshan shastra, ling means subtle, sukshma. Sukshma means very, very subtle, that cannot be restricted into perfect shape, size, structure or dimension. For example, I told you in the previous course also that whenever I use the word abstract or subtle, they mean that it does something or some kind of entity cannot be restricted into a perfect shape, size and structure. So once you understand this definition, Purvotpannam means it comes out at first. It comes out first. So it is born first, Purvotpannam. Second, Ashaktam. Ashaktam means powerless. Powerless है वो, कुछ कर नहीं पाएगा. It's a kind of energy, but until and unless it becomes available to a host cell, just like a virus. Virus का क्या रोल होता है? जिसे आज आप वायरस समझते हैं, उसका रोल क्या है? Until and unless it has a host body, तब तक वो replicate नहीं करेगा. Needs the host body. So subtle form एक energy है, small energy packet, powerless है. Until and unless it becomes a part of a gross structure, it is not powerful. Clear? Purvotpannam ashaktam. First of all, it is born first. Second, it is powerless. Then niyatam, it is eternal. It's a kind of memory card, memory chip. gets transformed from one body, one gross structure to another gross structure. That's why I showed you the example of your current devices. You take out the memory card and insert into another hardware. कोई दूसरा स्ट्रक्चर ले आइए, उसमें डाल दीजिए, तो वही चिप उसमें काम करने लग जाएगी. Means this subtle body is just like a kind of eternal entity, it trespasses. So next is Mahad Adi Sukshma Paryantam. Mahat means Mahat. Go back to the same chart. This is Mahat. Mahat. So Mahat Adi matlab begins from the Mahat, and then Sukshma Paryantam कहाँ से शुरू होता है? It starts from Mahat first of all. It ends at Panch Tanmatras, 5 Tanmatras, यहाँ तक, this place. So starting from this, ending at this, these are the Mahad Adi Sukshma Paryantam. Paryantam matlab till, and Sukshma means Panch Tanmatras. Mahad Adi means it starts, Adi means starts, Mahat matlab Mahat. From the Mahat it starts and ends at Panch Tanmatras. Samsarati, it can trespass. It can trespass. It is movable. Samsarati, संचरण कर सकता है, movable है. Nirupbhogam, it can't consume. That's why when you are seeing daily soap operas, किसी की आत्मा आ गई है और वो क्या कर रही है? आपके किचन में खाना खा रही है. So कोई सूक्ष्म शरीर कंज्यूम नहीं करता. Consumption is the requirement of the gross body. You consume the food because your gross structure need something to sustain, and that's why subtle body can't consume. Last is Bhavai Adhivasitam Lingam. It is seated in all the bhavas. It is present in all existent material. What is bhav? You understand and write the meaning of the word bhav. The word bhav is derived from the root bhu, and bhu means is or being. दोनों शब्द इसी से बनते हैं. In Sanskrit, from the bhu root we create both the forms, is or being. So bhu means whatever is in existence. Bhu sattayam arthe. Satta means existence. So whatever is in existence, that is denoted by the root bhu. And when you say bhav, that means it is in eternal existence. It is available in existence. That is bhav. आप लोग क्या करते हैं? Roughly translate हम करते हैं. भाव मतलब emotion, feeling. फीलिंग इसीलिए इतनी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट होती है कि आप फील तो कर पाते हैं, कई बार बता नहीं पाते. क्यों? क्योंकि वो एग्जिस्टेंस में है, बट दैट इज समटाइम्स दैट इज बियॉन्ड द लिमिटेशन ऑफ द वर्ड्स. सपोज यू आर somebody hurt you very badly by the harsh words. Now you are feeling so much bad, so painful that you cannot explain your pain. So your words becoming insufficient to describe the pain. This is the भाव, भू सत्तायाम. एग्जिस्टेंस में है लेकिन बताया नहीं जा सकता, इतना सूक्ष्म है, इतना सटल है. एंड दैट्स वाई इट इज मेंशन्ड इज भावई अधिवासितम लिंगम. इट इज अवेलेबल इन द एग्जिस्टेंस. it exists, and lingam means subtle form, exist in subtle form. So this is how they have classified and defined what is subtle body, सूक्ष्म शरीर. पहली चीज तो उसको वो है क्या, उसको definition कर दिया. Now 18 constituents, because they said like भावई, they started कहाँ से शुरू किया? निरुपभोगम महद आदि सूक्ष्म पर्यंतम. So started from mahat. Now after mahat, ahankar, then manas, then पंच ज्ञानेन्द्रिय, श्रोत्र, त्वक, चक्षु, रसना and घ्राण. पंच कर्मेंद्रिय, वाक, पाणि, पाद, पायु, उपस्थ. पंच तन्मात्र, शब्द, स्पर्श, रूप, रस, गंध. एंड पंचभूत, आकाश, वायु, अग्नि, जल, पृथ्वी. सो पंच तन्मात्र तक आप काउंट करिए कितने हुए. दिस इज द 5 5 5 कितने? 15 16 17 18. So this is the set of 18. Clear? This is the subtle body, Sukshma Sharir. So in the examinations, if you are asked how many constituents are there in the subtle body as per Sankhya, that means the number would be 18. 18 constituents are there in the subtle body as per the Sankhya, starting from buddhi and ending at gandha tanmatra. Now one by one I will explain in brief. There is a difference between organs and indriya. When you say ang, this is organ. In English you address organ. So sense organ, action organ, this means it is a gross structure having a particular shape, size, structure and dimension. For example, in English 5 sense organs are 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue. These are the 5 sense organs. Organs means gross structures. They are the passages. So you can have the organs in different shape, size, structure and dimension. Amoeba, viruses, paramecium, they can have their own gross structure. सबका gross structure vary करता है. Elephant, fishes, different biotas, they possess different gross structures. Sense organs can be different. But once you talk about Gyan Indriya, senses, directly senses, they are very abstract, they do not have a particular shape, size, structure or dimension. So in Sanskrit we use the word Shrotra, Tvak, Chakshu, Rasana and Ghrana. These are the Panch Gyanendriya, means 5 senses, and they are very subtle. They are subtle, that is why they are universal. They are available in each and every entity, but there is no particular shape, size, structure or dimension for the Indriya, neither for the Jnana Indriya nor for the Karma Indriya. In the same way, Karma Indriya, in English 5 action organs. 5 action organs. First one, organs. Action organs. नॉर्मली आप किस किस को समझते हैं जिसके थ्रू आप एक्शन परफॉर्म करते हैं? हैंड, देन फीट, एंड मैं इंद्री बताती हूँ, उसके बाद आप बताइए कि ऑर्गन कहाँ है. इंद्री क्या है हमारी? फर्स्ट वाक, सटल, प्रेजेंट इन एवरीवन. वाक मीन्स स्पीच, available everywhere. Speech is in what sense? In a sense of sound. So available to each and every organism. That is Indri, very subtle. But speech comes out through the gross organ that you possess, mouth. समझ में आया? माउथ पैसेज है. अब माउथ सबका अलग अलग हो सकता है, लेकिन वाक सबकी एक ही है. साउंड स्ट्रक्चर सबका एक ही है. दैट्स वाई इट इज वेरी सटल. पाड़ी, पाड़ी इज इंद्री रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू रिसीव समथिंग. सो organ through which you receive something, hand. This is organ. Clear? Pad, responsible for locomotion. So you have feet or legs. Different organisms have different type of structures, gross structures for locomotion. In the same way, Payu and Upastha, reproduction, the organ responsible for reproduction and the organ responsible for excretion, they are different in different organisms, but the Indriya, which is very subtle, is universal in all, and that is why the word in Sanskrit is known as Payu and Upastha. Payu for reproduction, this is for excretion. Indri is available to everyone. Amoeba also excretes, paramecium also excretes. You can see the Indriya is universal, very subtle, without any perfect shape, size, structure or dimension, universal. Tanmatra, now what are tanmatras? They are the stimuli which are being received by us. So, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Shabda is received by ear, is the passage, but receiving कौन करेगा? Receiving कौन करेगा? श्रोत्र, इंद्री करेगी. ठीक है, पैसेज है. जस्ट एज्यूम कि ये एक पेन अगर हॉलो होता तो एक पैसेज होता, उस पैसेज के थ्रू कॉन्शियसनेस पास हो रही है, एक स्टिमुलाई पास हो रहा है. सो द एक्चुअली दिस organ just works as a passage, as a pipe for the flow of that particular stimuli through your consciousness. But the one who receives that stimuli is your indriya. That is very subtle, doesn't have a particular structure, shape, size. Even if you try to see the locus, you will just get a point, a dot in ECG, etc. Just a dot. So, Shabd is received by Shrotra and responded by Vak. Sparsh is received by Tvak, responded through Padi. If you like something, you want to hold it. ठीक है. Roop is received by Chakshu, through the eyes. The passage is eyes. The gross organ is eye, and it can be different for different organisms. And responded through Pad. Once you like something, like you entered into a shop and you saw that there is a very beautiful shirt or lehenga or something, immediately you would rush towards that. The response would be through the indriya of locomotion, Pad. Ras, received by Rasana, responded by Payu. And Gandha, received by Ghrad, and responded by Upastha. So, in Sanskrit we have different words. For organ we have the word Nasika, not Ghrad. Nasika is nose, equivalent to the organ. It's in the same way, when you are saying Chakshu, we have Netra as an organ, as a human organs. So, these words are denoting the subtler aspects, not the gross aspects. Clear? That is the basic difference. Once Panch Tanmatras are there, means Shabd, Sparsh, Roop, Ras, Gandh are there, then they create Panch Bhut. That means from Shabd, Akash, Sparsh, Vayu, Roop, Agni, Ras, Jal, Gandh, Prithvi. One by one they create the Panch Bhutas. So, in short, you can say Shabd is the property of Akash. Because of empty space only, you are able to listen to the sounds. Empty space नहीं होगा तो sounds कहाँ पे कैसे catch होंगी आपको. So, Akash is having the property of Shabd. Any hollow structure can create the Shabd. Resonance तभी होता है. एक hollow pipe में आप resonance कैसे सुन पाते हैं? Because of the presence of Akash and Vayu. So, Vayu is having Sparsh, the dominant properties of Sparsh. Roop is the property of Agni. Agni has a form, you can see. And Jal has taste. So, Rasa. And then Prithvi has Gandha, smell. These are the properties of the Panchbhutas. So, from the properties the Bhutas evolve. This is the way of manifestation from the subtlest most aspect to the grossest most aspect, that is Prithvi. This is the understanding about the subtle body. Once you move to the gross body from the same understanding, then I have mentioned, see the name, Karna, Tvacha, Netra, Jihva, Nasika. The words which are used in English to denote the sense organs. Karna means ears, Tvacha, skin, Netra, eyes, Jihva, tongue, Nasika, nose. These originate from Panchbhutas. Karma, ang, action organs in the same way, Mukh, mouth, Hast, hand, Pad. Pad word is universal for subtle also, for gross also. Payu and Upastha, these three words are universal for both of them. They originate from the Panchbhut in Sanskrit. ये तीनों शब्द दोनों अर्थों में आते हैं संस्कृत के टेक्स्ट में. Now you see, when you use the word like पाड़ी ग्रहण संस्कार, क्या होता है पाड़ी ग्रहण संस्कार? पाड़ी ग्रहण संस्कार. Anyone who is going to have the invitation card of their weddings in Sanskrit or in Hindi or something else, there would be written like in India, in regional languages also, the only thing would be different, that is the script. Written word यही है पाड़ी ग्रहण. पाड़ी ग्रहण क्या होता है? आप किसी का पाड़ी ग्रहण करने वाले हैं. तो हस्त ग्रहण नहीं होगा. हस्त क्या है? एक ग्रॉस स्ट्रक्चर है. वो तो आप किसी का भी काट के लेके जाइए, doesn't matter. But padi is a subtle form. That means you are receiving the existence. That is padi grahan. Subtle, very subtle, the subtle form of energy. That's why the words are very peculiar in Sanskrit. In our languages, we have a very specified understanding about each and every word. Now you see in figure 4.4 is depicting the function of the sattva and rajas at two stages, physical and mental. If you remember this definition, you will remember everything. Sattvam laghu prakashakam. What is sattva? First is, it is very laghu, means light. So physically, it creates lightness in the weight. कोई भी बॉडी अगर सत्व डोमिनेट करेगी तो वो लाइट होगी और द मोशन वुड बी अपवर्ड मूवमेंट. कर्म क्या होगा उसका? टू गो अपवर्ड. द मोर द लाइटनेस इज देयर इन द वेट, द बॉडी वुड बी upward, go upward. This is lightness in the weight is coming from the dominancy of sattva. Second is at the mental level, it is prakashakam. Prakashakam means illuminating the intellect. Your intellect would start functioning, it illuminates the intellect. Second, rajas. See the definition. Ishtam upashtambhakam chalam cha rajah. What is ishtam? Ishtam means desired. Upashtambhakam and chalam. So first of all, chalam means mobility. So it at the physical level, it is responsible for mobility of all the kinds, all the types. At mental level, it is highly desired. Each and every one wants that the one can function, one can complete the task, one can accomplish the things, accomplish or achieve the goals of one's own life. It's highly desired. Without rajas, you cannot perform. And it's stimulating the intellect, because it is having the property of mobility. It can stimulate the intellect, it can actually encourage you to go to the class, otherwise you would miss the marks in the exam. क्या हो रहा है? ये rajas की dominancy है. If you are not able to function or perform, you are sick, that means rajas is not able to actually function at that time. Tamas, guru varnakam evacha. First of all, it is very guru, means heavy, grossness and heaviness. So physically the body becomes very gross, very heavy, and any body which is having very gross or very a lot of heaviness is there, the body won't go upside, downward movement. Second, at the mental level, it covers the intellects. Varnakam evacha. Varnakam means avarak. Avarak means covering. So it covers the intellects, it shuts down the intellect. For example, you can see those who are sleeping means shutting down the intellect. So automatically your tamas is dominating. Guru varnakam evacha. Guru is, it means it is creating heaviness in the body, tiredness in the body, and then varnakam means covering the intellect, shutting down the intellect. You shut down the system. सो जाओ, अब कुछ नहीं करना है. ये है tamas. So function of sattva, rajas and tamas at both the levels, mental level and physical level, is responsible for whole of the creation. According to that, whatever we understood, see the diagram, see the cycle. अब perception होता कैसे? How we cognize? Just the last slide. Cognitive apparatus, दो चीज़ें हैं. In this slide, you can be asked two things. What is cognitive apparatus, first thing, and what is cognitive cycle? So as per the Sankhya scholars, the cognitive cycle can function like this one. At the top there is buddhi, then there is manas, in between both of them ahankar, I-ness, and then you can see the cycle. We would start from here, the input. Just take the example of your own systems. You are giving the inputs in the form of stimuli. Shabda, sparsh, rupa, rasa, gandh. You are receiving shabda or sparsh or rupa or ras or gandh, or all of them together or two of them together, mixed one, in any proportion. Stimuli are being received by, these stimuli are known as panch tanmatras in Sanskrit. So they are received by panch ज्ञान अंग. पहले ये उससे पास होंगे, forwarded, they are getting passed through the organs. Sense organs are jnana ang. Karna, tvacha, netra, jihva, nasika originate from the panchabhutas, so they are receiving the stimuli. They are getting forwarded to kahan? Jnana indriya. So through the passage something is coming inside, and that is the stimuli reaching to the jnana indriya. श्रोत्र, त्वक, चक्षु, रसना, घ्राण इंद्रिय है. नाउ दे आर बीइंग फॉरवर्डेड टू मनस. कहाँ गया? मनस के पास. एंड व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ मनस? सी, राइट द डेफिनेशन. संकल्प विकल्पात्मकः मनः. व्हाट डज इट मीन? संकल्प मीन्स डिटर्मिनेशन, विकल्प मीन्स ऑप्शंस. So manas is that entity which selects among the possible options available. This is the role of manas. So selection among the options is done by manas. Now whatever selection is being made is passed to I-ness, ahankar, I like it or not, and then that is processed by your buddhi. Decision making is done by buddhi, and then whatever decision is made, it is the response is generated or forwarded to manas again for again agreement, for getting the you can say the permission of the manas that you are agreeing with my decision or not, and then the response comes through the actions. Now take a small example and you will understand the whole of the diagram. We are taking an example, you are entering into a shop, ठीक है, the moment you are seeing a very good shirt, so first of all क्या हुआ, you received the stimuli of रूप, very attractive shirt. रूप stimuli is passed through the अंग, ज्ञान अंग कौन सा है जो इसमें काम कर रहा है, नेत्र, अंग, eyes. Through the eyes you are seeing, na? Through the eyes you are seeing that there is that is very attractive shirt, there are attractive cloth. So you are receiving that stimuli, and that stimuli is getting passed through your netra, and from the netra who is functioning, indriya. Indriya is functioning. Which indriya? Your chakshu. Chakshu indriya is functioning, receiving the stimuli of roop, and then that stimuli is being passed to the manas. ठीक है, अब क्या हो रहा है, क्योंकि आपने एक साथ 3-4 शर्ट्स देख ली हैं, you entered and you saw 3, 4, 5 very nice shirts. So all the options are going together inside of you, and now your ज्ञान इंद्रिय is forwarding the stimuli to your manas. 4 बहुत अच्छी लग रही हैं, ठीक है. Now your manas is going to select among the 4. Selection among the 4 would be done by manas. Now suppose your manas selected 2, I would try and then I would decide. So you tried and then you find out that 2 are very much suited to you. आपके ऊपर अच्छी लग रही हैं 2. So manas selected 2. Now the stimuli is, that means selected option is passed to buddhi through the process of I-ness. I like 2 among the 4. This is the stimuli passed to the buddhi. Now buddhi has to take a decision. परचेज करना है ना, डिसीजन लेना पड़ेगा. जब तक डिसीजन नहीं होगा परचेज नहीं कर पाएंगे, जनरेट नहीं होगा, आप जा ही नहीं पाएंगे काउंटर पर पेमेंट करने के लिए. आपका एक्शन रिस्पॉन्स जनरेट कर फॉलो अप करेगा तब जब आपके पास डिसीजन होगा. योर बुद्धि हैज़ टू मेक अ डिसीजन. नाउ यू आर सीइंग योर वॉलेट and you are finding that you are not having sufficient amount of money to purchase both of them. Now the same processed stimuli would be sent back to the manas. Are you in agreement with my decision? We should purchase only one because I don't have sufficient amount of money. Now your manas is not in agreement, मान ही नहीं रहा है, नहीं मुझे दोनों चाहिए. So again the same stimuli would be passed to the buddhi. कुछ और करो, कोई जुगाड़ करो. So you would call your friend, give me some money, I have to purchase both the shirts because I like both of them, I don't want to leave it, and just help me, I would pay you later. अब आपका दोस्त मान गया तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. You would get the money, your manas would also become in agreement with the decision of your buddhi, and the process stimuli would be coming back through the actions. You would make the payment in the counter, you would purchase the shirt. Suppose आपके दोस्त ने मना कर दिया, No, I won't give you the money. Last time I gave you, you did not return. इस बार मैं तुम्हारी कोई मदद नहीं करूँगा. अब क्या करेंगे आप? Second chance. Second chance नहीं. That means the stimuli would be coming to the second friend को भी try कर लिया और आपके जितने लोग थे सब कुछ कर लिया. Then again, if you are not actually having that any of the chance that you would be able to purchase both of them, then what is the possibility? You would that kind of processed stimuli would be passed to your manas, and your buddhi would instruct your manas that now you have to compromise. मेरी बात माननी पड़ेगी, एक ही खरीदो, एक ही खरीदो. So the decision has to be done by the buddhi, and buddhi is above the manas, बुद्धि हैज टू टेक अ कंट्रोल ओवर द मनस, अदरवाइज आप वहीं खड़े रहेंगे, आप तो सुबह से शाम हो जाएगी, आप वहीं ढूंढते रहेंगे क्या ऑप्शन है. सो क्या होगा, इन दैट केस योर मनस हैज टू सेलेक्ट अगेन बिटवीन इन द टू शर्ट्स. You would select one and then the stimuli would be sent back to the buddhi. Okay, fine, now I am okay, let's go, make the payment and go back to the hostel. So this is the way that where the resolution of the conflict happens, and this Sankhya system is the base of whole of the discourse of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. वहाँ सबसे बड़ा conflict है, death है. कहाँ पे खड़ा है अर्जुन? He is standing in between a war zone, in the mid of a war zone. And still he is in the dilemma that he should fight or not. So the highest possible level of conflict is there, and the resolution is like that. Whatever Krishna is explaining to him, the same process कि हे अर्जुन अपने मन पर नियंत्रण रखो, अपने मन की लगाम को कसो, ताकि your बुद्धि can become able to make a decision over that. This is the cognitive process. So if you are asked in the examination, write down the cognitive apparatus, then this is the apparatus: manas, buddhi, ahankar, senses and actions. They are the, in totality they become the cognitive apparatus. Buddhi has decision making, manas makes selection among the possible options available, and manas is bimodal. Remember, manas is bimodal, it is ubhaya indri, it can receive the stimuli also, it can respond to the stimuli also. That's why some people are very highly imaginative, हर बार वो इमेजिनेशन ही करते रहते हैं. सो कैसे इमेजिनेशन? दे वुड क्रिएट, रिसीव द रिस्पॉन्सेज एंड दे वुड रिसीव द स्टिमुलाई एंड दे वुड जनरेट द रिस्पॉन्सेज बाय द मनस. उनका मन ही ओवर थिंक करने लगता है, एंड द साइकिल ऑफ ओवर थिंकिंग गोज ऑन, एंड देन they are caught and they end without accomplishing anything. क्योंकि ओवर थिंकिंग का मतलब ही है you are caught up in the thought process, only the thought process, no function, no actions, no real actions, only thought process. Senses are receptors for receiving the stimuli, motors respond to the process stimuli. Sense and action organs are gross in nature, they can be of different shape, size and structure among different organisms. Ahankar is dominant-iness. So on the basis of this understanding, we can have few of the sample questions which can be asked in the exam. For example, first is Sankhya system do not accept comparison as a separate means of cognition. Why? What would be the answer? Because it incorporates comparison under the category of inference, anuman. They say that in resemblance also we just infer. So they do not accept comparison as a separate means of cognition. Define subtle body as per Sankhya. Define, I am asking define. So because you are not able to remember the Sanskrit definition, you can write in English. What is the first one? It is born first. Then second one, powerless. Third one, eternal. Fourth one, starts from Mahat and end at Tanmatras. Then next, Sansarati nirupabhogam, it trespasses. Nirupabhogam, it does not consume. Then bhavai adivasitam lingam means exists in all the bhavas. It is in existence in the form of subtle body or subtle forms. So this is how you have to define in English if you are being asked. Describe the impact of the three fundamental elements of creation. What would be the answer? Three fundamental principal elements, sattva, rajas and tamas. First thing. Impact बताना है तो कैसे बताएंगे? On the physical level, on the mental level. On the physical level, sattva creates lightness in the weight, and at mental level it illuminates the intellect. Then rajas is responsible for mobility or activity at physical level, and at mental level it is highly desirous and it stimulates the intellect. Then tamas creates grossness or heaviness at the physical level and it shuts down the intellect at the mental level. Clear? Then write down 18 constituents of subtle body as per Sankhya. 18 constituents of the subtle body, starting from Mahat or Buddhi, then Ahankar, then Manas, then 5 senses. If you are not remembering the Sanskrit word Panch Gyanendriye, तो आप लिखेंगे 5 senses, not the sense organs. ठीक है? Then 5 actions. Then 5 tanmatras. Even if you are not remembering the word tanmatra, you can write 5 stimuli. Shabd, Sparsh, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So this is total 18. Explain cognitive cycles as per Sankhya system. क्या करना पड़ेगा आपको इस क्वेश्चन में? Whole of this diagram. Cognitive cycle. Maybe a 5 mark question or a 10 mark question in the paper. So you can have to draw the diagram, how the stimulus is being received and how the response is made. On one side there is Gyan Ang or sense organs, then senses and then manas. On the other side there is actions and action organs, then stimuli. Simple cycle. And on the top, in between, first of all buddhi, then I-ness, ahankar and then manas. This is the order and you can draw the diagram. For example, fill in the blanks. First one, dash and dash and dash are the 3 accepted means of cognition. कौन से? As per सांख्य. Because 3 की बात हुई है मतलब सांख्य ही है, क्योंकि ये न्याय वैशेषिक क्या मानता है? As per न्याय वैशेषिक, how many means of cognition are there? 4. As per Sankhya system we have 3. So what are they? You have to write. First one, direct perception. Second one, inference. And third one, verbal testimony, shabd. So direct perception, inference and verbal testimony. You can write pratyaksh, anuman and shabd. Clear? Pratyaksh, anuman and shabd. Second question, as per Sankhya, 3 fundamental elements of creation are sattva, rajas and tamas. Purush is described as the one who resides inside the city of the body is Purush, or Puri Sharire Vasati Aneni iti Purushaha. Nishchayatmika, who is Nishchayatmika? निश्चय मतलब डिसीजन मेकिंग, कौन करता है? बुद्धि. सो निश्चयात्मिका बुद्धि. Then selection among the options available is done by manas. Ubhay indri or bimodal is manas. Dominant I-ness is ahankar. So these are the few of the sample questions which can be a part of the examination. For this lecture, this is sufficient. Thank you.